Hey guys, it is Christine. Welcome back to my channel. I am doing a video that is based on a blog post I wrote, I don't know how long ago. I don't think it was long after I had my last baby, my third child. And I wanted to do a video on it because I think it's a topic that a lot of mamas consider and think about, and wondering whether or not their family is complete and how you know that. Because I think for some of us it's very definitive, and for others it's just something that is very up in the air and there's no real black and white answer for them. So I thought it would be a helpful video to put up, and it would start some interesting discussions and just thoughts and things like that. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. If you're new, hi, I'm Christine. I am mama to 3. They range in age from 4 down to 1. And we're also a homeschooling family. So I like to post content about motherhood, specifically practical tips to help with it, and also homeschool content, because that's kind of a new stage of our life that we're walking into, and I'm very excited about it. I was homeschooled for part of my schooling, probably the majority of my schooling, and now I'm excited to do that with my kids. So that sounds like something you'd be interested. Please go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you along. Let's get stuck into today's video. So you might have had a baby, or you might be thinking about having a baby, and you're wondering, how on earth am I ever going to know when my family's actually complete? How do I know when we're done? And I think the answer is going to differ for every single woman. But I have some points that I think might help you. And I just want to preface this by saying that these are my opinions. Don't take them personally, but they're things that have helped me and things that I can relate to. And so that's why I'm sharing them with you. So the first thing is to just ignore the opinion of others, which is kind of funny because I just said that this is my opinion. But what I mean by that is don't take it on board too heavily. It's wise to hear from other women who have maybe gone through it, but also don't take it on too personally, because every single family is unique. Your circumstances are unique and individual to you. I am so distracted right now. There's like neighborhood dogs running down the street. Okay, ooh, squirrel. But I wouldn't place too much emphasis on people's opinions. This is something that is going to be very personal and very private, and there's no right or wrong answer according to anybody else but yourself and your spouse and your family. And so I would just start by going in with that mindset that it doesn't matter what other people think. If you want to have 10 children, then that is great, and that is something that is up to you. It doesn't matter what other people think. If you want to stop at 1, that is also your decision. Like, it really doesn't matter what other people think. You're the one who lives with the decisions that you make. I never ever thought I would have 3 kids. Like, 3 was the number I was going to avoid at all costs. It was either going to be 2 or 4, and 2 really wasn't an option either. I wanted to have like 4 or 5 children, and we stopped at 3, and I'm very content with that decision. So just be open-minded, because you could change your mind over time. The second thing to consider is your spouse, obviously, because they play a very important part in this role. So I would highly encourage open communication on the subject. Before we had our third child, we talked a lot about whether or not we were either going to have 2 and then have a bit of a break and then have another 2, or just go ahead and have 3 altogether and be done. And we decided to end up going with just having 3 together and have them close in age. That was a lot of that had to do with how I struggled through pregnancy, and I didn't want to draw that out. And I also just felt very content with the idea of having a third child and being finished. So my husband and I were on the same page, and just give grace to each other and just be open and honest about things. It's never wise to like keep things back. So in these kind of areas, like, they're really important. So if you want another child, you need to communicate that openly. If you don't want any more, you also need to communicate that. Be clear. Don't be vague in these areas, because it really, really won't help the situation. Just be honest and open, as much as it can be hard, because I know it's a very vulnerable thing to talk about, but try just to be honest. The next thing is to recognize cluckiness for what it is. I think that all women, and I know this is a broad and encompassing statement, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I think we're biologically programmed to just love newborns. Like, you can be so content with the number of children you have, no desire to have another baby, and you pick up a newborn and you smell that sweet little smell, newborn smell, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I need another one. I think that's just naturally built into us. And I also think it's really important to recognize that for what it is. Just because you love the smell of a newborn and you love the baby stage doesn't mean you actually want another baby. So it could mean that you do, like you might genuinely want another child, but I think there's a difference between wanting to grow your family and just really enjoying babies. So yeah, recognize it for what it is. And I don't know if that desire ever goes away. I think you can be very content with your family and still love babies and love newborns and feel clucky in that sense. I think it's just a natural instinct for the majority of us, at least. Another thing I wanted to bring up is to look long term. And this is something I really had to do when we were considering having our third child, because I hated pregnancy. And it wasn't just that I hated it, it was actually really, really difficult for me. I had very, very painful pregnancies, and I've dealt with depression through pregnancy and things like that. And so it was like a lot to go through another one, but I 100% knew that I wanted another baby. And I had that long-term goal in my mind and this vision of having 3 children around the table in the evenings for dinner. And that is what got me through the pregnancy, to be quite honest. There were small bits of it that I enjoyed, but for the most part, it was very, very challenging. And I think that that's important to bear in mind when you think about Christmas and, I don't know, Thanksgiving, all those big holidays. Who do you see sitting around the table? Because that is your long-term vision. And if that means making sacrifices right now, then it can 100% be worth it. I mean, I'm so abundantly grateful that we decided to go ahead and have our third child. She just completes our family, and she healed me so much after the pregnancy. Her just sweetness was so wonderful. And so I'm just so thankful we decided to do that. With the whole long-term thing in mind, another thing to consider is the short-term and just the balance that motherhood requires. Like I said, my pregnancy was so taxing with my third, and I felt like a shell of the person who I actually am. And I know that right now in the stage of life that we're in, it would not be wise to have another baby. I mean, I don't have a desire to grow our family, but even if I did, now would not be the time to do that, because I wouldn't be able to even care for the children that I have. And I understand some women do fall pregnant and it's outside of their control, and that's just life, that happens. But when you do have a choice, I think it's wise to consider what you think you're capable of. And we're all capable of more than we think for the most part. But sometimes we have to realize that we have boundaries and we have limitations, and it's wise to consider the needs of the children you currently have and are caring for. So with all that said, I think it's important to talk about the woman who never feels that sense of being done, of not necessarily feeling like there's a full stop at the end of their family sentence, you know? I think it's really wise to just wait in those cases. Don't do anything permanent. Don't do anything drastic. That'll be your answer. Waiting will be your answer, because you'll either have that deep longing for another child, or you will eventually find contentment. I know with my mother, she ended up having, she had to have 4 C-sections. All 4 of her children were C-sections. And that meant that she actually physically could not have any more. They told her that it would be very, very dangerous to fall pregnant again because of the scar tissue. And so the decision of having another baby was taken out of her hands. And at first that was incredibly difficult for her to cope with. But over time, she came to terms with it and found contentment. And I know that's a different sort of circumstance because the decision was taken out of her hands, but I still think the principle applies, is just wait, because either way you're going to have an answer, and you will never regret not taking permanent action to, you know, prevent having more children. You will definitely regret it if you long for that child and you then cannot have them. So waiting is very wise. And at the end of the day, it is your decision. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You and your partner are the people who are going to be making this decision. You're the ones who are going to be supporting the child and raising the child. And so it really, really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. For us, it was between my husband, myself, and God. I mean, that's the only people we took into consideration when deciding the size of our family. And we have been told so many times by so many people, you're going to have a 4th, you can't possibly stop at 3. And I just sit there and I think, well, you know what, maybe we will one day. Highly unlikely. Neither of us have a desire to expand our family anymore. But it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. We're happy with where we are. We're happy with the children God has given us. And I am very, very busy with the children that God has given me. I mean, days are busy. I am swamped most days, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I don't know if this video has been helpful to you if you're in the stage of trying to decide whether or not to have another baby. I do know that most people say that you will never regret the child that you have, but you will regret the ones that you don't. And so just keep that in your mind when you're, thinking about whether or not you want to have another baby. So like I said, I hope it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.